So I recently recorded a video about this, and I may or may not upload it, may or may not upload this one, but it was more so just talking about the state of the Mac right now in 2024, yep, January of 2024. And I will forever, and not forever, but I have no problem talking trash about Apple's flagship device here. This iPhone, I absolutely hate it. I only have it because of iMessage. I've made videos about Beeper Mini, and in fact, I need to make another one to, I guess, see if anything has changed, or I guess talk about my experience with it. But yeah, I only have the iPhone because of iMessage. Like, heck, I don't even really FaceTime on the iPhone. Like, I'll use a Mac, which is the point of this video, that Apple does a lot of stuff that I don't like. All companies do. Yeah, the closing of iMessage, yeah, they have their rights to do that. You know, it's not unheard of for a company to want to lock you in some way. But there are subtle, small things on the phone, and I'm just like, this makes no sense. Like icon placement. Well, why can't I just free form it and put stuff wherever I want to put them? Doesn't make any sense. The volume, the ringer, what's this called? The mute switch doesn't make any sense. I get why the iPhone had Lightning instead of USB-C for a long time for monetary reasons, but it sucked. So I'm just like, that's unfortunate. The app library, as I'm looking at it right now, like I'm looking at the social little folder that they've created, and then I'm like, okay, I get why you would consider those social. I don't have any social media apps on here, so I'm assuming I would hope that if I downloaded Facebook today, it would go into the social one. For some reason, YouTube is with photo and video. I mean, yeah, but I guess consuming video is what they're saying, not creating video. But FaceTime is also streaming video. So I'm just like, what exactly is the curation? But the point I was getting at with the social one is that I have the messages, FaceTime, and the phone all in the social one. But what do I need to even use those? Unless I have everything memorized up here, what do I need for those to work properly? Contacts. And contacts, and I lie to you not, at one point was under other. And then I think after I downloaded GarageBand, which is under other, contacts got moved to productivity and finance. Okay. And again, app library makes no sense. So I will forever not like that device. But the Mac, since 2020, has definitely been an amazing product. And they've done their M1 regular, Pro Max Ultra, M2 regular, Pro Max Ultra, and now the M3 regular Pros and Max are out. The Ultra has not been released. But from everything that I've seen, and I think what prompted me to do this is one of the YouTubers that I watch just released his video about it. I can't see a reason to upgrade to an M3 device for the majority of people. And of course, anytime you have a somewhat iterative year-to-year improvement, you have the people, myself included, who will say, yeah, there's really no reason to upgrade, really no reason. And I would say going from M1 to M2, I've kind of felt the same way. The reason I got an M2 MacBook Air is because of a design change. The M1 MacBook Air looked like the previous Airs, and the M2 Air now wasn't aligned with how the M1 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros looked. So yeah, it was a design change, and I said, you know what, I'll give it a try, and I like it. I have no complaints with it for the spec version that I got. 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of storage. I like it. But yeah, I had no problem saying going from M1 to M2 for a performance reason. For most people. Some YouTubers have shown for their specific use cases, they saw differences. But I'm just like, yeah, no, M1 was that good that going to M2 for most people just isn't required. And then now, over 2 years later, close to 2.5 years later, saying the same thing, not from M2 to M3, but still from M1 to M3. For most people, don't think you really need to do it. From the outside looking in, I don't own any M3 devices, but from the outside looking in, don't think you need to. And it almost looks like, yeah, from whether it's the differences in number of efficiency, or I'll say the changes in efficiency versus performance cores, and the memory bandwidth, and just even how you're able to select things. I think Apple even knows that too. Like, yeah, we made a really good product back in 2020, and I know that they are proud of it, as they should be. But it was so good that there isn't really much reason to upgrade year over year. Like, I don't think a lot of people do that for laptops. But even now, we're talking 2.5 years later. I'm still just like, no, those M1 products, whether it's the regular, the Pro, the Max, or the Ultra, they are still really good. So don't buy them. If you have an Intel Mac, yeah, buying any of them will be great. But yeah, if you happen to buy a Mac, whether it's an Air, a Pro, a Studio, I guess even the iMac, a Mini, yeah, if you already have an Apple Silicon Mac, I don't see a reason to upgrade. I mean, I'll be curious to see what changes, of course, whenever the M4s come out. But for the time being, I think you're sitting pretty with what you currently have. And I am curious to hear what other people think. Now, I will also say this, because as time goes on and the difference between these Mac products, or these Apple products and Windows products, longevity of support, where with Windows products, up until recently, and I know I don't want to say recently because that's no. It there have been some changes. So for people who had Windows, and we'll just start at Windows 7. Windows 7 or Windows 8, you would get the free upgrade to Windows 10. Okay. Now that in turn means all machines, for the most part, that ran Windows 7 and Windows 8 could run Windows 10. But then, for security reasons, Microsoft said, well, you need these hardware requirements to run Windows 11. So a lot of people, unfortunately, were like, oh, the laptop or the desktop that I currently have is not capable of running Windows 11. And, Windows 10 is still supported for some time, and I think we're approaching end of life for Windows 10. And I think if you want to, you can pay some money, and Microsoft will continue supporting it or whatever. So, it's happening. But for a while, that wasn't a concern that you had of, oh, when is my computer no longer going to be supported? Like, yeah, it'll get old, it'll get slow, it'll run out of storage. I'll need more RAM. I mean, things that just naturally happen. But in terms of just not being able to upgrade to the next operating system, even if you paid for it, there wasn't a true limiting factor in our lifetime. In the past, things were what they were, so we're not going to go back that far. So Windows 7 and on, I'm sure there are quite a few Windows 7 machines that should be able or are physically capable, yes, of running Windows 11, but because they don't have a TPM 2.0 chip, they can't. When Microsoft will say, oh, you can't do it. Now, there are tweaks to change things so that way it doesn't recognize or look for it or whatever, but from Microsoft's perspective, they're saying you can't run it, and that hasn't really been a concern for many of us in our recent lifetimes. Apple has always been different. Apple lets you know we are no longer supporting these devices. This device will stop getting support, or is no longer getting support. MacBook Pro 2019 and later, Mac Mini 2015 and later. MacBook Air, 2020, like that's kind of how they do things. And up until 2020, it was all Intel based stuff. So it was, I'm sure definitely Apple's decision on when they would support things, but I don't know if they had as much control over it as one would want or one would hope from their perspective and even from a consumer's perspective. But when we look at the iPhone, the big difference is because Apple was using their own chips inside instead of Intel's or AMD's or something, they had more control, and as a result, support was longer. 3 or 4 years initially. The iPhone 6S, I think, was like 6 or 7 years of support, like ridiculous. And then I think now we're kind of like at that 5 year mark. But, I've made another video about it, which again, I may not upload. But in that video, one of the other things I wanted to talk about, because as I'm recommending, hey, you should get a used M1 whatever, you do have to worry about how long is Apple going to support this. Now, in 2020, the iPhone 12 came out. And the iPhone 12 base model cost, I'm assuming $800 if I were to remember correctly. Now, the comparison that I want to draw is that also the M1 MacBook Air came out in 2020. $200 price difference. The MacBook Air started at $1,000. But these Macs are full-blown computers. Apple will call them computers. I don't think Apple wants you to think the iPad or the iPhone is a computer, even though it is. But because it is a computer, Apple has to support it longer than they are supporting the iPhone that came out the same year. So if the iPhone 12 came out in the year 2020, my guess is that it's going to be supported until 2025. So it should get whatever version of iOS comes out in 2025 and should continue getting all of the updates up until the next version of iOS, which comes out the next year, and that'll be 2026. The MacBook Air that came out in 2020 should be supported for another 2 or so years. There's no reason for Apple to not support it, but there's nothing forcing them to do it. So even though I'm comfortable, no problem recommending an iPhone 12, in fact, I think you can buy a new iPhone 12 from like Metro PCS or something right now for like $100 or something. I would hope that I have a definitive reason to be so comfortable saying, yeah, you should still feel comfortable buying a MacBook that came out the same year because Apple is going to support it for longer. And an iPhone 12 used right now, you can probably get for, I don't know, $300-400 or something. If you spend some time looking, you can find, I got my M1 MacBook Air for $650 a year and a half ago. So yeah, you should be able to find a used MacBook Air M1 for around that price and definitely lower, maybe $400, So yeah, I am comfortable. My face even my voice might make it sound like I'm on the fence. It's just because we just don't know. We could probably look at historical information about, well, what's the longest Apple has ever supported a MacBook Air when they were not. And even with the PowerPC stuff, which I don't know anything really about that. So we'll just say with Intel stuff. What's the longest supported Intel-based MacBook Air? And we could say Apple has to support any M series Mac longer than that. So yeah, whatever the longest one is, Apple has to support their M series stuff longer than that. So I feel like that's a better way. Those are two statements that kind of go hand in hand. The MacBooks that come out now need to be supported longer than the iPhone that came out the same year. And since we are still learning, we should comfortably be able to say that any Apple Silicon Mac should be supported longer than the longest supported Intel-based Mac. So with that, I think I'm going to close and say, yeah, M3's cool, M2's cool. If that's what you want, cool. But M1s are still quite the performers.